Vinícius Junior Arsenal. Two words that 6 months ago nobody would have put in the same sentence. One of the most controversial players in world football. One of the most disciplined, structured clubs in the Premier League. On paper, the most unlikely transfer of the summer. And yet, David Ornstein, one of the most reliable transfer journalists in the business, reported on July 25th that Arsenal are actively exploring the possibility of signing Vinicius, and here is the detail that matters. Every single time Ornstein has used the word exploring about an Arsenal transfer, the signing has gone through. Rice, Raya, Jesus, Zinchenko. So this is real. The question is whether it is a good idea. Let's break it down. First, why is this even possible? Vinicius is one of Real Madrid's most important players. He doesn't leave a club like that without a very good reason. The reason is his contract. It runs until the summer of 2027. And negotiations over a new deal have been completely stuck for the last 18 months. Talks began in February 2025. The two sides exchanged financial positions and immediately discovered they were nowhere near each other. Vinicius wants a contract that makes him the highest paid player at the club, or at minimum puts him level with Kylian Mbappe. His agents are pushing for around 30 million euros per year, including bonuses, plus a significant signing bonus on top. Real Madrid are not willing to pay that, and their message is clear: Vinicius is not the main star. Florentino Perez, who is already managing a very delicate salary hierarchy after Mbappe's arrival, has absolutely no interest in creating a precedent with this kind of raise. Any deal for Vinicius would trigger similar demands from Bellingham and others. Multiple insiders have described the talks as deadlocked with no obvious path to compromise. The player himself wants to stay, but the contract he wants is not coming, which means at some point very soon, Vinicius becomes available. And when that happens, Arsenal want to be first in line. Liverpool were offered Vinicius first. They said no, not interested. Arsenal said yes immediately. And according to multiple sources, the support for this signing inside the club is total. Every level of the organization, sporting director, manager, ownership is on board. There are no dissenters. The fee is expected to be around 200 million euros for a player with less than 2 years remaining on his contract. That is an enormous commitment. But Arsenal have the money. They have just won the Premier League, and they want a statement signing. The question is not whether they can afford it, the question is whether they should do it. Before we get into the arguments, if this transfer story has already got you talking, hit the like button, because this one is worth the debate. Let's start with the most important argument, the one that is genuinely hard to dismiss. By average goal involvement per match in the Champions League knockout stages, Vinícius Junior is already ahead of both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. He has also surpassed Messi's total assists in decisive Champions League matches. These are not arbitrary statistics, they measure the one thing that matters most in European football, performing when the stakes are highest. Arsenal want to win the Champions League. That has been stated clearly by the manager, the ownership, and every person associated with the club. And the honest truth is, Arsenal's current attacking options, as good as they are, do not include anyone who performs at Vinicius' level in those specific moments. Saka is brilliant, Martinelli is dangerous, but neither of them has the record in Champions League knockout football that Vinicius has built over the last 4 years. He does not shrink in the biggest games. He finds his best performance when everything is on the line. Arsenal buying Vinicius is Arsenal buying someone who has already proven he can win the tournament they most want to win. That argument does not have a straightforward counter. Add to that the pure attacking numbers. Vinicius in any given season produces 30 to 40 goal involvements across all competitions. For a team that created the chances but sometimes struggled to convert them last season, that output is transformative. Here's an assumption most people make about Vinicius, that he is a pure attacker who does not do the defensive work. That assumption is wrong. Vinicius is one of the best counter-pressers at his position in world football. The moment possession is lost, either in his own half or in the opponent's, he reacts immediately, using his pace to press and attempt to win the ball back. His intensity in that specific phase is not just acceptable, it is elite. He also spent 4 years under Carlo Ancelotti, a manager who regularly set up Real Madrid to sit deep in big European matches and absorb pressure before countering. In those games, Vinicius tracked back, covered for his fullback, defended against the opposition winger without the ball. He understands the defensive structure. He's not allergic to the work. Where the questions arise is in low and medium blocks, more passive defensive shapes, where he has historically been less engaged. But it is worth noting that at Real Madrid, he was given a certain freedom to conserve energy for his explosive moments in transition. Arteta's system would demand more consistency from him. Whether Vinicius delivers it is the genuine unknown. The optimistic reading, his defensive work is much better than his reputation suggests. The cautious reading, he has never been asked to do exactly what Arteta demands from his wide players. Both things can be true simultaneously. And here's a question for the comments. Do you think Vinicius can actually adapt to Arteta's system? Yes or no? I want to see where you stand before we get to the part that might change your mind. Arsenal under Arteta have become, over the last 2 seasons, a more cautious team. The vertical pass through 2 opponents is treated as a risk. The fast transition after winning the ball in the middle third, something that used to be a weapon, has been largely removed from the system in favor of ball retention. The result is a team that is very difficult to beat but not always easy to watch. And in the Champions League, where the best defenses are set up specifically to frustrate patient possession football, that caution becomes a genuine limitation. Vinicius would change this dynamic. He is extraordinarily effective in transitional phases. His movement off the ball creates space, his ability to receive and immediately play forward breaks defensive lines, and his pace in behind is something no defensive structure can fully neutralize. Adding Vinicius does not just improve Arsenal's attack quantitatively, it changes the type of team they are. It gives Arteta a weapon he simply does not currently possess, a player capable of turning a defensive moment into a goal in 4 or 5 seconds. Whether Arteta wants to take that risk to allow more of the chaos that comes with Vinicius' style is a separate question. But the tactical argument for what he would add is genuinely compelling. Now the other side, and this is where the conversation gets genuinely difficult, Vinicius is one of the most talented players in the world. He is also one of the most challenging personalities in European football. And the combination of those two things at Arsenal specifically is a serious problem. Now consider what Arsenal are under Arteta. The defining principle of the club is that everyone is equal. Bukayo Saka, the best player in the team, the player the entire attack is built around, defends like a fullback, presses like a midfielder, and accepts the same structural demands as every other player. There are no exceptions. There are no special arrangements. Vinicius has never operated in an environment like that. He comes from a club where his ego was in some ways part of the product, where the star's individual brilliance was given space to breathe even when it created friction. Does Vinicius accept Arteta's authority? Does he embrace a system where his defensive responsibilities are non-negotiable? Does he react professionally when he is substituted in a difficult moment? These are not hypothetical questions, they are questions his recent history gives us clear and rather uncomfortable answers to. Arteta has spent years building the culture at Arsenal, a culture of collective accountability and mutual respect that has produced real results. Introducing Vinicius risks destabilizing something that took enormous effort to construct. The financial picture is the second major concern, and it is more complicated than just the transfer fee. 200 million euros to buy him. That alone would make Vinicius the most expensive signing in Arsenal's history by a significant margin. But that is only the beginning. Vinicius will want to be the highest paid player at the club. That means a salary in excess of £400,000 per week, plus the signing bonus he has consistently demanded in his Real Madrid negotiations. And here's where it gets complicated. Declan Rice's contract expires in 2028. He is already Arsenal's best player by most metrics. The moment Vinicius arrives on a record salary, Rice's representatives will immediately use that as leverage in renewal talks. The same applies to Saka, whose contract situation will need addressing, and to any future signing Arsenal want to make. Buying Vinicius does not just cost 200 million euros, it restructures the entire financial ecosystem of the club. That might be worth it if the return is a Champions League trophy. But nobody can guarantee that outcome. In Spain, Vinicius has occasionally benefited from a degree of latitude that referees extend to elite players. Premier League officials operate differently. They card players for dissent. They do not allow conversations with the referee to continue without consequence. If Vinicius brings his usual approach to arguing with officials into English football and there's no evidence suggesting he would change, he will accumulate yellow cards at a rate that becomes a genuine problem for the team. So, does Arsenal need Vinicius, and does Vinicius need Arsenal? The football argument for this transfer is real. Vinicius would immediately make Arsenal's attack more dangerous, more variable, and more capable of winning the Champions League. His record in the biggest moments of the competition is better than almost anyone alive. That is not a small thing. But Arsenal have spent years, carefully, patiently, and successfully building something that is more than just a collection of talented players. They have built a culture, a way of working, a collective identity that has produced a Premier League title and a team that is genuinely difficult to beat. Vinicius, at his best, elevates everything around him. Vinicius, in a conflict with the manager or a dispute that divides the dressing room, could destroy the same thing. If Arsenal had failed to win the title last season, if the model had plateaued or shown signs of running out of road, this decision would be straightforward. You take the risk, you need the jolt. But they won, the model is working, the culture is intact. And the question you have to ask is, do you want to introduce the most unpredictable, most complex personality in European football into an environment that runs precisely because it is not that? The answer to that question is not as obvious as it seems, and it might be the most important decision Arsenal make this decade.